Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something huge, those dramatic end times ideas, especially the secret rapture. Believers vanishing, chaos left behind. It's everywhere in pop culture. But what if that picture, the one many of us grew up with, isn't quite what the original writers meant? What if doctrines got built on translated words, kind of obscuring the original flavor? So our mission today, challenge that narrative. We're going straight back to the sources, looking through an ancient Hebraic lens to see what Yahshua and the prophets really seem to be saying. Prepare to rethink taken.
Exactly. And going back to that original context, it's crucial. So much of our understanding, like you said, comes filtered through layers of translation, later theology. And when you look at Yahshua's words in their Hebrew setting, the culture, the language, the history, a different pattern emerges. Our premise today really is this. Often in these key texts, being taken means removed in judgment. And being left, that actually means being preserved by Yahweh, preserved right here on earth.
Wow. Okay, that flips the script, doesn't it? Taken for judgment, left for preservation. That's a fundamental shift for a lot of people. So to really get our heads around this, we need to dig into the scriptures, right? And I hear there's one specific Hebrew word that's key.
Yes, absolutely. And Yahshua wasn't just inventing things. He was grounding his teaching in stories everyone knew from the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible.
Right. He's using shared knowledge, building on what his audience already understood. So these precedents he invoked. Let's start there. Noah seems like the big one he mentioned.
Definitely. The days of Noah. Yahshua brings this up saying the flood came and took them all away.
Okay, took them all away. But who exactly is them?
Well, the text in Bereshit, or Genesis, is incredibly clear. It was the wicked. Everyone outside the ark says all flesh died. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things. I mean, it's total destruction. They were taken away by judgment, removed from the earth.
No ambiguity there. Taken equals judged and destroyed. So then, who was left?
Noah and his family. They were left, preserved on the ark. They weren't beamed up somewhere else. They wrote out the judgment right there on earth. Bereshit says Elohim remembered Noah in the ark. Preservation through the judgment, not removal from it before it hit. It's about staying on earth, under Yahweh's protection.
That's a powerful contrast, preservation on earth. Okay, so that's Noah. Does this pattern hold up elsewhere? You mentioned Yahshua also referenced the days of Lot. How does that play out?
It plays out exactly the same way, and Yahshua makes the connection explicit. Remember Sodom and Gomorrah?
Mm-hmm. Fire and brimstone?
Right. The inhabitants were taken away, destroyed by that fire and brimstone. Bereshit says Yahweh overthrew those cities, all the inhabitants, taken away in judgment, completely wiped out.
Okay, another clear case of taken, meaning judgment. And Lot.
Lot and his daughters, they were left. They were explicitly told, escape for your life. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. They were let out, preserved from the judgment that fell on the cities. And Yahshua himself, in Luke, says, likewise as it was also in the days of Lot. But on the day that Lot went out, it rained fire and brimstone and destroyed them all. Even so will it be. He couldn't be clearer linking the two.
So the two main examples Yahshua uses point to the same pattern. Taken means judgment, left means preservation. It really underscores your point about how later translations or interpretations might have shifted that original meaning. Which brings us, I think, to that crucial Hebrew word you mentioned. How do we get from this clear pattern to the modern idea? Let's unpack the word laqach.
Yes, laqach. Strong's H3947. This word is really at the heart of understanding these passages, and looking at its ancient roots is illuminating. In Paleo-Hebrew, the pictographs are fascinating. You have lamd, the shepherd's staff authority, guidance. Then kaf, the sun on the horizon, maybe a cycle, a turning point. And het, a wall or fence separation, boundary. Put them together, and conceptually, laqach suggests something like an authoritative action of separating or guiding someone or something towards a specific boundary or outcome, a deliberate taking or acquiring.
Okay, so authority, action, separation. How does that translate into its actual use in the Tanakh?
Well, linguistically, it's an active verb, very concrete. It means to take hold of, to fetch, to receive, to acquire, even to seize. Think about common uses. To take a wife, to take an offering, to take a prisoner, to take water from a well. It's always a tangible, purposeful action of taking something or someone.
That seems straightforward enough. Concrete, active. So where does the ambiguity creep in? How did the English take lead us down a different path, especially with later doctrines layered on top?
That's where it gets really interesting. The English word take is just, well, it's incredibly flexible, almost vague sometimes. And in the context of Western theology, particularly around the idea of a rapture, this idea being taken often got fused with a specific destination, namely heaven. This wasn't really inherent in laqach itself. That destination idea seems influenced more by, perhaps, Greek thinking about escaping the physical world rather than the Hebraic focus on Yahweh's purposes on earth. So the nuance that gets lost, and this is critical, is that when laqach is used in these judgment contexts, contrasted with being left, it strongly implies being taken by destruction, like the flood or the fire, not taken to safety somewhere else.
Right. The original concrete consequence removal by judgment gets overshadowed by a later, more abstract theological idea of removal to heaven.
Wow, it's a profound shift in perspective, all stemming from how we understand, or perhaps misunderstand, that one active verb through layers of translation and tradition.
So if taken often means judgment in these contexts, then being left behind, that term suddenly sounds very different, doesn't it? Almost hopeful.
Exactly. It completely reframes it. In the Hebraic worldview, the concept of a remnant, the shirith, is absolutely central. These are the ones left. And often, they're the ones Yahweh deliberately preserves through judgment. Why? To inherit the earth? To fulfill his promises right here.
Inherit the earth, not escape it.
Precisely. Think of Yahshua's words. Baruch are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Or the Psalms, the righteous shall inherit the land and dwell in it forever. The focus is consistently earthly, tied to the land, to Yahweh's kingdom coming here.
So the remnant isn't bypassed by trouble, they're brought through it.
That's the consistent picture. Yeshayahu Isaiah talks about a very small remnant being left, otherwise it'd be like Sodom. Zechariah speaks of a third being left in it, the land, and brought through the fire, refined like silver and gold. They're left to be purified, left to endure. It's not about avoiding the fire, but being proven faithful within it.
Which points towards our calling then, right? Not hoping for an escape hatch, but for endurance, faithfulness.
Absolutely. Endurance, sable, patient bearing, and faithfulness, emunah, active trust and belief in action. Yahshua said, "He who endures to the end shall be saved." That salvation, in this context, looks like preservation through the trials, leading to inheriting that renewed earth. It's a very different focus than just waiting to be taken away beforehand.
Okay, so if the call is endurance on earth and being taken is often judgment, what does this mean for the actual return of the Master? It sounds radically different from the secret event many imagine.
It is radically different. Connecting all these threads, the examples, the language, the remnant, the Master's return, emerges as a powerful, visible event of judgment and separation, not a secret snatching away. Think about Yahshua's own parables. The wheat and the tares, the weeds. What happens first?
The tares are gathered first.
For burning. Exactly. First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Judgment on the wicked comes first. He clarifies later. The malachim, the angels, will come and separate the wicked from among the just and cast them into the furnace of fire. It's a public, decisive sorting, removing the wicked.
Wow. Okay, so the sequence is flipped from the popular idea. Wicked gathered for judgment first. Then what about the righteous? How are they gathered?
They are gathered to Yahshua, who has returned to the earth. It's a gathering on earth to meet him as he establishes his kingdom from Jerusalem. Matthew describes it. He will send his malachim with a great sound of a shofar, and they will gather together his elect, gathered to him where he is. And Zechariah is so specific. And in that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem. He physically returns to a specific place on earth.
Feet on the Mount of Olives. That's very physical, very visible, which really pushes against any idea of secrecy, doesn't it?
Completely. There's just no room for a secret event in this Hebraic framework. Yahshua said, his coming would be like lightning flashing across the sky, impossible to miss. And Chazon, Revelation, says, behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him. It's a global, unmistakable, visible manifestation. The clarity comes when we shed the later interpretations and stick to the original context and language.
This has been, well, it's genuinely shifted my perspective. This deep dive, looking at taken meaning judgment and left meaning preservation through that Hebraic lens, it just reorients everything. It really shows how much can get lost or perhaps added in translation and tradition over centuries.
It truly does. And it clarifies our calling, doesn't it? It's not about passively waiting to escape, but about actively enduring sable through Yahweh's refining work right here on earth. Those taken, removed in judgment, those left, The remnant, preserved through the fire, destined for the renewed earth. That's the consistent hope presented from Bereshit onwards.
So, the call is active faithfulness, emunah, seeking his kingdom to come, yes, but on earth as it is in heaven, being overcomers, standing firm, ready to meet him at his glorious, visible return. It changes how you pray, how you live, doesn't it? Your hope isn't escape from the world, but participation in its restoration alongside that preserved remnant. So here's something to think about. How does really grasping this Hebraic view, taken for judgment, left for preservation, how does that reshape your understanding of the Master's return, your hope? And maybe most importantly, your calling today, living righteously right here on earth. Mull that over. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.